Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real. I'm your host, Bob Gallagher, and I'm joined in studio today by our co-host, Job Torini. Welcome back to the show, Joby T.
Thank you, Bob.
And our very special real estate guest today, Curtis Knight with Lair Realty Partners. How you doing, Curtis?
So excited to be here. Thank you, Bob.
You really are excited. You can barely contain yourself.
I'm beaming.
You are. So we asked you to join us this week so you could kind of give us an update on what's happening in we'll call it the winter real estate market. What's going on right now? What's going on in your neck of the woods? You're what, Burlington, Billerica, the Merrimack Valley surrounding areas type of thing?
Yes, good for you.
Yeah.
So the market right now is in a state of flux, my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from event services. I have another company, and if you're getting married, I provide your DJ, your photographer, your videographer. So in that business, there are 4 months that are very key, and we do most of our business in those 4 months. And that's May and June and September and October. So when I transitioned into real estate, I found out, it's the same thing. The big months for real estate are May and June and September and October. So starting at the end of October, things begin to diminuendo, the opposite of a crescendo. They start getting a little lighter, and everything's very slow in January and February.
Right.
And that's when we get our chance to retool and get everything ready for a big year. So right now, it's hard to predict where things are going. The market has softened a little bit,
Yes.
but it's still very good.
We got a little bump in December, it seemed like. It got busy there.
It did get
just
busy.
before Christmas, which is really odd. It usually doesn't happen that way.
Correcto. And even right now, I mentioned to a couple of my colleagues that I started 2018. Right now, we're in 2019. I started 2018 with nothing for the first 5 months. I didn't do one deal, one transaction, nothing. I wasn't really trying, but I just didn't get any work.
Yeah.
And then I came on like a Mack truck and did a ton between then and the end of the year. So for this year, 2019, I started the first week with 4 deals. 2 of them have already closed.
Wow.
And 2 more are about to. So it's a bigger year already.
That's excellent.
So my world is busy.
Yes.
And I have a theorem that I work by, and people have said over the years, like people who work for my companies, they say, are you nervous if there's a slowdown in the economy right now, if there's a slowdown in real estate? And I say, guys like you, Bob, and you, Job, and me, we're always going to get a slice of the pie, no matter how big the pie is. So it doesn't matter to me if things get really soft in the market, because we're still going to flourish.
Yes.
I think.
Because you're the best at what you do.
I think you are.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Curtis.
And I love Job, too.
Yeah. You got an also. He didn't want to leave you out on that one.
That's okay.
All right. That's good. So what do you think is going to happen the rest of the year with real estate?
I think it's going to stay strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot. I think it could go over the edge at any point, because I think we're as dangerous right now. Things are eerily similar to the way they were in 2007. It's almost the same market. Everything is set up for a huge crash, even bigger than the one that happened September 15. I almost can't say it. Having a nervous tick. September 15, 2008.
That was a tough time.
That was a tough time. And I thought my sales were off 90% at the time, because things just softened right out of sight, and we were hemorrhaging money. And I said, how are we ever going to survive? And I looked at the actual numbers, and we were off 20%.
Yeah.
But it felt
still
like
painful.
I thought we were off 90. Well,
Yeah.
20% is what you live on.
Yes.
10% is what you buy your groceries, your gasoline, all the other money goes into supporting the machine.
Right.
Your business, paying for your rent and your vehicles and everything else. But that top little tiny piece, that 10% on top, that's the money that you have in your wallet.
Right.
So when we were off 20%, I was looking for places to borrow money, extending my credit lines, and I thought, how long is this going to last? And
Only 7 or 8 years.
and things never came back. I'll give you one stat,
Yes.
taking us off the rails. My business at the time, my DJ business, in December of 2007, my company provided the DJ for 86 holiday parties in the 31 days in December of 2007. So then we came to December 2008, and that was right after the crash in September. And we did not 86 as we had in 2007, we did 26 in 2008. And it has hovered around that number ever since, even this year.
Because a lot of people cut back on Christmas parties.
They're terrified.
Yeah.
They don't spend like they used to ever since that big crash. And to wit, My mom, may she rest, she survived the Big Depression, and to her dying day, she would always save every little thing, eat every morsel on her plate. She was always afraid that we would have another depression and she'd have nothing like they did. They had no food, didn't know where to find it. So once you've gone through something like that, it never leaves you.
It changes, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the one big difference between this market and the one we were in 06, 07 is back then it was more about greed.
Wild West.
Yeah.
No
Everybody was
regulation.
buying a house. They knew they couldn't afford it, and they were just going to flip it and sell it for a profit and do it again.
Yeah.
And then the music stopped, and you got stuck, and property values started to plummet. You know the rest.
Oh, my God.
I think now what you're seeing, though, is more need in this market. So it's not people looking to buy houses to make money. It's people looking for housing. I think that's the main difference.
There is that, but there are also more flippers and more developers
True.
than I've ever seen.
True.
They are just everywhere. When you go to any kind of an auction, or if a house comes on the market, or if a piece of land comes on the market,
Oh, yeah.
15 or 20 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just everywhere.
Right.
And regular people who say, yeah, I think I want to buy a property, they're competing against all these sharks. And
Which makes it tough.
and there are more than ever right now
Yeah.
that I see.
Yeah. There's still way more people that want to buy than there are selling, though, right? Not really in balance yet? Or getting closer to balance?
Actually, I run the numbers every week for 12 towns surrounding Billerica, where I'm from.
Yeah.
So I do, and I won't get them all, but Billerica, Woburn, Tewksbury, Concord, Bedford, Lexington, Lowell. So there's all these cities and towns, and I run the numbers for how many properties have sold in the last 90 days, how many are currently for sale right now, and then in the end, I look at how much inventory we currently have, how many houses are on the market, and I use the information from the past 90 days to determine whether we're the same as we were, or whether we have less, or whether we have more, and whether it's a buyer's market, a neutral market, or a seller's market. And we've been firmly in the seller's market for the past several years, but right now, several of the towns have eased into the neutral market. So the demographic is slowly changing, but I can't say that it's changing permanently. This
Right.
could just be for a few weeks or a couple of months.
Could be.
Yep.
Could be.
People get wealthy in normal markets.
That's true. Normal markets
There's
are
some
good for
winners
pretty
and
much
some
everybody.
losers in either
Yeah.
of the markets, but everybody can get wealthy in a steady, long-term normal market.
Yeah. I would agree.
It's a zero-sum game. If people walk away from every transaction feeling like they were taken advantage of, independent of what side that is, it ends. The ride stops.
Yeah. You're absolutely
It
right.
doesn't stop when it's normal.
That's a lot of wisdom coming from you, Job.
Well, it's 20 years now.
Yep.
And I think the other thing with that will prevent the crash is the quality of mortgages. I mean, you were in it, so was I. We were at executive levels then, and the quality of mortgages that I wrote, not Ross, but at my company, which is a large company, was factually probably 25% of what it is right now. You still can't get a residential mortgage without verifying your income, verifying your employment, verifying times, dates, assets, credit.
Yeah.
And if not, they're asking for a significant amount down. So when they look back to what happened in the crash, like there's a lot of conjecture during it, but 85% of the foreclosures were because they were non-owner occupied, not because of this myth that middle class was taking over, or
Yeah.
getting taken advantage of, or all these big bad lenders. Like really, what they say on the movies goes. Like the bartender that bought 5,
Yeah.
the nurse that bought 6,
And lost them all.
and they didn't have to walk out of their house. It doesn't matter if that house is owner occupied, but it matters to those 5 neighbors.
Yes.
Because once you have a default on your street, man, it's over for a year.
Yeah.
Go back to that stat for me again. What percent?
85% of the homes they took were because they were bought under the assumption or the condition that they were owner occupied when they were not.
Oh.
And,
Yeah.
and not all, but the vast majority not only owned one, but owned over 3 or 4 properties.
Right.
So this is something they were used to doing. They had a place to get the financing. And once BC subprime financing stopped, that stopped that day. I mean, I worked at Countrywide then. We got a memo saying we're not doing
Countrywide?
this anymore. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I think that nugget of wisdom might be the pearl that makes this podcast worth it today.
And radio show.
Yeah.
How about that? So let's talk about, you and I have been talking recently about first-time buyers. And there seems to be a disconnect between what they want to pay per month and what they want to spend on the house.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find that it's frequent when I take buyers to see houses and they say, I can spend this much money. So let's call it $200,000. They say, I can spend up to $200,000. So I'll set up a search to show me all houses within the towns that they have specified. I'd be happy living in this town, this town, this town, this town. So I do searches in all those towns every day. So I find properties between 180,000 and maybe 210,000. But their limit is 200,000. So I show them a number of houses that are all within that window between 180,000 and 210,000. And house after house after house, they say basically in so many words, well, this is a complete dump. I'm not buying this. And if we do put in an offer, we are going to tell the seller of this property that they have to fix the front steps, replace the fence, replace all of the doors, put in a new sink, redo the bathroom, put down a car, and they have a big long laundry list of things that they want done to the property. So I will always give them as a knee-jerk response, everything that you're mentioning has already been factored into the price. So if they're selling the house for $200,000, they're selling it for $200,000 because all of that stuff that you're saying needs to be done, that's already been factored into the price. They're not going to give you another $30,000 or $40,000 as a gift because you decided to buy this home. So you need to have the price that you offer close to the asking price, which brings us on another slightly different tangent. They'll say, okay, this house, they're asking for $200,000. Put in my offer for $120,000 because I have to make all these repairs. And so then I try to gently tell them, because you're usually strangers to the person that you're dealing with. So we're getting to know each other. And I can't just say, well, that's ridiculous, because then that makes us controversial and combative and aggressive. So then I'll try to gently tell them the price is $200,000 because that's what they think the market will bear.
Right.
But if you're going to say you need to do $80,000 worth of work on the house, then that's up to you to spend that money. But you can't ask the seller to do all the things that you're going to need to do to your new home because they've already factored that into the price.
Correct.
And I have that conversation with almost every buyer that I have the privilege of serving.
Right. Yeah. And another thing we talked about too was, we talk about, when Job and I or any loan officer really here at Ross Mortgage, when we're talking to customers about what the monthly payment's going to be, it's not just about what they qualify for on paper. We want to make sure they're going to be comfortable paying for it in the real world.
Oh, my God.
So, yes, you could go to X, but you might be eating ramen noodles and bologna for the next 2 years. So you need to understand going into it, you're going to have a lot less money for other things.
I think that there's a parallel. Like as my other business, our flagship is weddings. We provide the DJ, the photographer, the videographer, the photo booth. So in that business, we've done the same couples. We've done like the same groom or the same bride. We've done their first wedding and their second wedding multiple times, and we've done the third wedding for several of our clients. So it just happens over and over, and we joke, like, how many times will we serve this customer? And several of my clients for that business, on the day of the wedding, they say, oh, you're doing such a good job, I'm going to use you for my next wedding. and that's their attempt at humor. And I always say, shush, don't say things like that. But in the real estate biz, it seems like close to 50% or so of the homes that we sell, they're for sale in another few years because people don't know what they can spend. They don't know how to control their finances and have rigid cost control, which they should. Nobody trains them. There's no school for it. And then they get underwater very quickly because they can't keep up with their payments. Right. So it seems to me almost like, so I look over at Job and he has a Cheshire cat smile, which says, yeah, you got it, bro. So, but it seems that way.
Right.
And I just have never heard you use the word rigid before. I liked it.
Yeah. So, but it seems like all these houses, I mean, I talk to people who've been in the business a lot longer than me, and we'll be driving around and they'll say, I've sold that house twice, I've sold that house 3 times, and it just goes again and again and again. And
here's an interesting stat. You know what the number, now this is going back a year or two, the number one regret of first-time home buyers occurred according to a survey.
Oh, I can't wait.
Do you know what it is?
I don't know.
You don't. They wish they'd gone higher. They wish they'd bought the house that was a little bit bigger, a little bit more expensive, because now they've gone. I mean, buying a house is not something you do if you're just going to live there for a year, obviously. If you want a 2-car garage and that's going to make or break whether or not you like the house, don't buy a house without a garage. you're just
for
going to
you.
want to buy another one.
Ooh, that's another nugget that makes today's
Right.
radio show worth listening to.
Right. Or, if you're adamant we have to have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, don't buy a house that only has 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about sometimes $10,000, $20,000 difference. So for $50 or $100 more per month, you could have had the house you actually wanted, which would have saved you money in the long run because you wouldn't have had to sell and buy again.
But that segues us and transitions us into that other thing that
Yes.
everybody's always losing their houses.
Yes.
And my friend who's in real estate, he has the first nickel. I hope he doesn't hear this this radio show. He has the first nickel he ever made, and his checkbook has hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, which mine doesn't. But I always say to him, well, he says to me, "Stay small and keep it all." And he shakes his head at me whenever we go out. The bill comes and I say, "Let me get this," and he goes, "Great, thanks." So, and good for him.
Yeah.
So, but I always say, "Go big or go home," and we argue about it nonstop. I'm polite. I love him. He loves me. But I say, "Hey, we're older guys. We should spend some of our money and do some of the stuff we want." And he said, "No, you need to hold on to your money so that things don't go wrong and you wind up losing what you have."
I would say that there's a happy medium. You know what my grandfather used to say?
Tell me.
You can't take it with you when you go.
Yeah.
So what's the point of saving all that money?
We argue about it all the
Yes.
time.
Save some, spend some.
Thank you, Robert.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Words to live by.
Funny, the lender gives you permission to spend some and save some.
Oh, save some.
Weird
I'd save
advice.
none.
Yeah.
If you want later, we can go see a barber if you guys want to find a haircut. No big deal.
Yeah, thank you.
So there was a study commissioned in the wedding services business about 10 years ago, and they asked the brides, they asked 30,000 brides, what was your number one regret looking back on your wedding day? And I didn't have a clue. I won't even ask you two guys to guess. The number one regret was I didn't have video on my wedding day.
Really?
Number one regret. And they gave them a list, A, B, C, D, E, and they had to pick. And most selected choice was I didn't have a wedding video.
We didn't have one.
Yeah. Do you regret it?
Not really.
Really?
Well, because everybody had phones that recorded, so
Not good. Ugh.
well,
No,
the only things we wanted recorded were the best man and the maid of honor speeches. The rest of it, a lot of people I know that actually have the video done.
Never look
don't
at it.
ever watch it.
They never watch it. But it's nice to know that it's there. That's
Yes.
the thing. And, Job, did you have video on your wedding day?
I did.
And did you love it?
My oldest daughter loves it to this day, so she watches it all
Really?
the time.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But
Love that.
Mm-hmm. His wife does
We-
not watch it. It was not a fond memory for her. I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. It took me a second.
Hopefully Megan is listening to this
Yes.
because she will call right in and correct Bob.
Or will she?
Wow. Two dead men walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So we're almost out of time for this segment, Curtis. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to give us what you think is going to happen the next 12 months at real estate. Up, down, flat.
I say it stays within 3 percentage points of where it is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not going to change all that much.
I don't think so.
No, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of talk, and I listen to all the programs. I watch Bloomberg, and I watch all the financial programs. I'm always trying to get a leg up on what's coming. So I don't think much change for 2019.
I agree. Before we go, we need to give out your contact info. So it's Curtis Knight with Lair Real Estate. What's the best number for folks to reach you at?
My cell, 978-590-5910, and you can text or call.
Excellent. Thanks again for coming on the show, Curtis. We love having you.
Thank you, Job. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.